Hey everybody, my name's Ed. I'm probably going to do two videos this week. My comic book store had a sale, so I got a few back issues, but I don't want to make this video too long, so I think what I'm going to do is I'll do the normal thing where I talk about more current stuff, and then I'll do another video to show you some of the back issues I got. So without further ado, Fosters, let's jump into it. So let's start with Hawkeye #7, written by Kelly Thompson. The art is by Leonardo Romero, and the colorist is Jordi Belair. I guess that's how you say that person's name. Um, I actually think this is one of Marvel's better comics. Well, just to explain the plot of this issue, basically, um, Kate Bishop has received this package in the mail, and it has something that's related to her mother, who we don't know what happened to her, but she's out of the picture, and it may or may not have something to do with her estranged dad. And basically, Kate's side, she's got to delve into the mystery, and we learn a little bit about her backstory, her family's backstory, and things like that. So yeah, like I said, I really enjoy this comic. As it's gone on, it's proved to be one of the better comics out there right now. I really enjoy the pacing, the plots. I like the fact that the comic is very plot heavy. The first 6 issues had two storylines going on, and it's not like that's particularly remarkable. But in these days of decompression and writing for the trade or whatever, most trades are about 5 or 6 issues. Um, and what a lot of writers will do will take a story that's probably, uh, would have been back in the 80s, 3 issues, 4 issues, whatever. They'll just stretch that storyline out to make it 6 issues or so. But within the first 6 issues, we got a really fast-moving 4-part story. Then that was followed up with a fun little 2-part story, whatever. And again, like I said, it's not super remarkable, but just the fact that Thompson is just packing more and more into the storylines as opposed to just taking these storylines and stretching them out, I think is commendable. Um, like I said, the plots are really dense, tightly plotted. The scripts are good. I like most of the dialogue. It's funny when it's supposed to be funny. It's dramatic when it's supposed to be dramatic for the most part. And I also really like the art. I think Leonardo Romero is really doing some interesting things with layouts and compositions, and just the simple line work uh, really works for me. It's something that it's the opposite of what you see a lot of days, or a lot of artists these days, where you're seeing more and more people using photoshopping and things like that, and even people who don't are doing things to make the comics or make the visuals flow more like a movie or make it look more like cinema. But Leonardo is making it look like a comic, and these are the visuals you can only do in a comic. You know what I mean? So I think it's really great. I don't know if you could say that spunky girl hero is actually a genre or not, but it's definitely one of the better comics. Whoop, I don't want to show you the whole thing and give everything away. But this is definitely one of the better comics of that style. You know what I mean? And I think it's one of the better comics from Marvel, period, though. Okay, from one Archer to another. This is Green Arrow #24, covered by Mark Grell, and it is the uh, credits are Benjamin Percy Story, Juan. I'm gonna say his name wrong. Faria, and here, and he also does the colors. This comic book I'm going to completely spoil. I know I kind of mentioned in last week's video and a couple other videos how I kind of think the comic is, the storytelling is a little sloppy, but I kind of like the comic book anyway. I'm very weirdly fascinated by this comic. So yeah, we're going to go through it, and I'm just going to spoil the whole thing. So if you don't want to be spoiled, just skip ahead to the next comic or whatever. But let's start here. Like I said, I think last week, this comic book is completely nuts. Now, last issue ended on a cliffhanger where the bad guys blew up the Seattle Space Needle. So what's going on now? First page, Green Arrow is like in some swanky neighborhood shaming rich people into giving money to like a homeless guy. And then, of course, you know, he does, of course, give his own money to some other homeless people. But, okay, he walks around all proud of himself trying to protect the city. But, like I said, the fucking Seattle Space Needle's blown up. Where the fuck is he at? Now, his sidekicks, Black Canary, Red Arrow, and Arsenal, they're down there trying to help people or whatever. And they even say, you know, where's Ollie at? And somebody says, he's probably out there doing something stupid, which in fact he sort of kind of is, because he's decided he needs to go back to the building where his family's corporation is and sneak into the basement, because in the basement, oh wait, well, I'll get to that in a moment, because here's some corporate intrigue here. This is going on upstairs, Queen Industries, and they're talking to this one guy trying to get him to work for them. And this is one of like Ollie's friends that hooks him up with gadgets and things like that. And we also have some little political intrigue going on here. We have this kind of blowhard mayor who's kind of a jerk and not necessarily evil, but, you know, not necessarily a cool guy anyway. But anyway, back to the bottom of Queen Industries. Ollie is down there investigating this cult that lives in the basement, and they do weird occulty things, and he's going to put a stop to it. They try to talk him into joining up with them because they're like, hey, you know, we've been part of this corporation for generations, and there's always been a queen connected to us, and you should join us. And he's like, no, you guys are bad. So there's a big fight there. And then the mayor, of course, was having a press conference, but in the middle of the press conference, he makes this dramatic thing where he runs out of the building because he wants to show the people something. Meanwhile, Team Arrow is no longer helping people at the Seattle Space Needle. They decided they need to walk over to where the Queen Industry building is. And then there's some supervillains there. And they're just hanging out. So they decide they need to have a fight with the supervillains. And of course, there's Ollie still fighting with the occult guys. And then the mayor says, from the ashes of Seattle, we will rebuild Star City. Crazy Moore fighting with the cult. Looked like Ollie's probably won. He set this guy on fire or some shit. I don't know. And here's a really weird thing here. Fighting with the bad guys. Now, one bad guy is Cheshire, and the other guy is Brick. He's supposed to be a big guy, but because the perspective is all weird and everything, the proportions are weird, you're not necessarily sure how big he's supposed to be. You don't know if he's supposed to be like 12 feet tall. Is he 20 feet tall? I guess he's some sort of giant. I don't know. You can't really tell just about because how weird and wonky the art is. But anyway, Ali has decided, you know what, he's had enough, and now he's going to make a stand as his own man, and, he no more hiding behind masks, and he's going to retain the family name, and he's going to reclaim his city. And look at him, he shoves the mayor, and he's like, I'm going to own up to everything I did, and I'm taking control of everything. And then he's arrested at the end because he's wanted for murder. He's been set up for murder by Merlin, I think, from the previous issues or whatever. But it's just such a nutty, crazy fucking comic book, you know what I mean? It's one thing's happening, then another thing's happening, and we're over here, but now we're over there, and it's just so crazy and nutty and bizarre. But hey, it's not boring. It's not a boring comic book, and it tries to deal with like social issues and things like that, even though I think it does so in maybe not as, I don't want to say ham-fisted. Maybe it doesn't. Maybe that is the word. It's kind of ham-fisted at times. Not terribly so, but it could be a little bit more nuanced. But okay, like I said, it's a crazy nutty comic book, and so far I'm still fascinated with it. And speaking of liberals, here's United States of Hysteria by Howard Chaykin. There's a funny thing. Well, here, I'll read it. In the back matter, there's uh, a little thing here from Howard Chaykin. One thing stood out to me. I'll just read it really quickly. He says, instead of trigger warnings, cultural appropriation, safe spaces, and social justice warriors, maybe we on the left should have put aside all this balkanizing nonsense and been fucking Americans, for fuck's sake. Instead of allowing this nihilistic shithead to mainstream and legitimize the racist, sexist, bigoted, and flat-out moronic sensibilities that have always been there, but were held in check by a common understanding that one doesn't get away with that shit in the United States of America. I just read that because I thought it was pretty ironic when he talks about nihilism, because this is an extremely nihilistic comic book. It's full of obscenities, racial slurs, violence, and raunchy sex. You know what I mean? It's it's just out there. It's out there. Just to explain the premise a little bit. Basically, the United States has been under a series of terrorist attacks since when it starts. The first panel. A month ago, the elected president of the United States and most of the cabinet were assassinated in an aborted coup d'état. And here we see this guy here is probably the most normal person in the comic book. This is an FBI agent who's cheating on his wife. But anyway, it's mostly set up, this issue is. Like I said, there's all these terrorist attacks that are going on, in America, and there's more coming, and we're introduced to this guy, and then we're also slowly introduced to a series of other people. For what purpose, we don't know exactly, but pretty much everybody is an unrepentant serial killer or spree killer. There is a black racist sniper. There is a trans prostitute. There is a Jewish guy who poisons people. There is another guy who's just a old-fashioned serial killer, And there's lots of crazy political stuff going on, or I should say political intrigue, I should say. And, there's a few other characters that we're introduced to. I don't want to give too much away. Like I said, it's just the first chapter, and it's mostly set up. And we're not too sure why everything's coming together. Who knows? I'm sure we're going to get more with the serial killers. I'm sure we're going to get more with the terrorists and the attacks and how this all plays out on the political landscape inside of the story, whatever. But it is well drawn. It's fast paced. Um, for as I don't know if I want to say offensive as the language is. It is snappy and it flows. So it's a very well put together comic book. I did enjoy the comic he did with Matt Fraction, Satellite Sam. But if you go into it, you have to realize you're not getting a story about, heroes and villains, good guys and bad guys. A lot of times, the main characters in a Howard Chaykin story are actually pricks. And it's basically pricks versus other pricks. And the pricks you hate, you root for the prick that you hate the least. You know what I mean? It's all a matter of degrees. And it's really about human nature, maybe the dark side of human nature and how that sort of plays out against whatever backdrop he's doing, whether it's politics here or in Satellite Sam, the TV industry. All these stories always have kind of this sort of gritty crime feeling to them as well, kind of mixed in there. So yeah, very intriguing. Like I said, there's lots of edgy material in here. I wasn't offended, but it's really definitely not for everyone. So, okay. But yeah, just know what you're getting into. Okay, so the next comic is Jasmine Odd from Lion Forge Comics. The writer is Raul, and the artist is Roger. Um, oh, if it matters, mature readers. Yeah, I probably should have said that when I was talking about this comic as well. Definitely for mature readers only. But anyway, yeah, I think I mentioned in the last video I kind of bought this on a whim. I didn't know anything about it, never heard of it, don't know who the creators are, but it caught my eye and I flipped through it and I kind of liked the art, so I thought I'd pick it up. And yeah, I actually really enjoyed it. It's basically the story of this musician from Argentina, and he finds out that his sister has gotten into trouble in New York, so he goes and gets her and he kills some dudes, and now the dudes are after him. Then he hooks up with his buddy, and who knows, his buddy's got something going on, and yeah, that's basically it so far. It's just kind of like a weird, crazy, over-the-top crime drama, and it's a lot of fun. I enjoyed it. Well-paced, really intriguing art style, and of course you get a little of the old ultra violence. But yeah, really fun, really intriguing. I think I've said that already. But I think it's really interesting. I don't know too much about this company, um, but it's interesting because it seems like they're trying to put out more comics with more diversity, both on the page and as well as behind the scenes. Some of the artists and writers I've heard of, some I haven't. But it looks like they're trying to kind of mix things up and, like I said, bring more minority characters into the scene. Although not every character is a minority character, but I just think it's interesting for all the talk that goes back and forth in the comics community. Oh, here's a preview of some other thing that's supposed to be coming out. So many people are just very narrowly focused on just Marvel and DC superheroes. And I just think the issue is just so much. Well, probably better not show you that. But I think the issue is just so much greater, than just, whether or not there's a black Captain America or whether or not Wonder Woman's gay, you know what I mean? Not that those aren't interesting things to talk about, but like I said, here's a comic book, brand new character. People say, why don't they create more new characters? Well, okay, here we go. Here's a company that's doing that. Hey, why don't more, minorities and women do their own comics and, and are involved in the writing, editing? Well, that's this company. So, I just kind of think it's a shame that, what people want to get up in arms about is, like I said, these Marvel and DC characters changing, even though they've always changed. And if they're A-list characters, they change them back. If they're B-list characters, they change them back sometimes too. And like I said, I just think the issue is a lot bigger than just I don't know, like I said, temporary Black Captain America, whatever. But anyway, even if you don't even care about that sort of thing, you just want to read interesting stories with good art and stuff like that, it's still, it's a good thing to look beyond the big two. You know what I mean? It's a good thing to look into other genres besides just superheroes and stuff. So, so anyway, for me, I highly recommend Jasmine Odd right now, and Nito Keen. So I guess what I was trying to say in kind of a roundabout way is, if you care about like issues like diversity and representation in comics, take a look at, some of the titles that are coming out of Lion Forge. And if you don't care about the issue at all, take a look because they're just interesting comics. Okay, all right. Anyway, on to the next thing. Here's some of the comics I bought this week. Uh, Betty and Veronica #3. This comic is way late. Like I don't know, like 3 or 4 months or whatever. I know sometimes Adam Hughes has issues when it comes to doing interior art and stuff. So I'm not super shocked, but like yeah. But anyway, I'm glad it's finally out. I'm a big fan of Adam Hughes. So okay, Bug #2. Mike Alred. What is it? Lee Alred, Michael Alred, and Laura Alred. Okay. Black Cloud #3 by Jason Latour, Ivan Brandon, Greg Hinkey, and Matt Wilson. Defenders #1, Brian Michael Bendis, and I'm not sure who the artist is. Oh, Jesus. I'm sorry. I didn't realize there was all this back matter in here. Um, anyway, the artist is David Marquez, and the colors is Jason Sponsor. Uh, but yeah, back matter. There's a fake interview with Luke Cage by Ben Ulrich. And then, what else? Oh, I guess that's it. This is just letters page thing. All right. $5 comic book. Obviously, of course, it's coming out because there's the Defenders TV show on Netflix that's going to be coming up. So, I don't know. Brian Michael Bendis has done some really good comics over his career, but he's also done some like really hack work. And then there's other things that I think he did his best, but he just wasn't suited for or whatever. These days, he's really hit or miss for me. But like I said, when he knuckles down, he can do some really good comics, but when he's going through the motions, it's kind of painful. So, okay, so there's that. And I also got American Gods #4. Yeah, I've actually been enjoying it so far. So, have not seen the television show, but I've been enjoying the comics. What can I say? This is a David Mack cover, I think. Yeah, here it is. David Mack. If you can make that out. Okay. Alrighty, okay, so yeah, it's probably a good idea for me to have split these videos up. That's it for this video. Next video I put up will probably be a video showing up some of the back issues I got recently. But anyway, thank you all for listening. Everybody have a great day.